Hello,
Wait.
got it.
Oh, yes.
Okay, hello everybody. Nice to meet and see you. You hear a bit of noise around me. In 5 minutes it's going to end, and in a place where everybody is going. So in 5 minutes they will be gone already, and then it will be very quiet. Meanwhile, I will introduce myself, and I would be happy if you will introduce yourself. So my name is Einat Kramer. I'm the founding director of the Israeli Shemitah initiative. It's an initiative that promoting the Shemitah values in the Israeli society. And what we're going to do in the next hour, I'm going to tell you what is happening actually in Israel in this Shemitah. But before, I was thinking that because we are a small amount of people, and because I'm not the first one in this series, but you heard some lectures before, maybe we can start making like a tour that each one of you will just share his name, her name, and one thing that he thinks about Shemitah that he heard already, or he feel in his heart, or the word Shemitah, yeah, let go, release, means to him. And in this way, it will be easier for us to talk afterwards when we know each other better. So because it's a bit noisy, Kobe,
I can monitor.
It will be helpful for me if you will help me to do the round. Yeah, just I can monitor the round, and again, just tell me who you are and one thing that you feel or think about the Shemitah. I don't care to see you eating, sleeping, walking, jogging, doing laundry. It's okay, we're all in the Zoom. So feel free to show yourself. It's okay. Yeah, let's start. Kobe.
Yeah, so good morning, everybody, and thank you, Einat, for the quick introduction that you already made. I just want to welcome everybody for a second for joining us for another session of Torah from Israel. And as you saw, Einat is very enthusiastic to speak to us. She's an amazing speaker, and I'm sure we're going to have a really amazing conversation. So what I'm suggesting is that when you're looking, I'll monitor the people. I'm going to call your name. If you want to share your thought about Shemitah, then feel free to do it. You're not committed to do it, but it will be a lot more helpful for the conversation. And if I can start, then I will say that for me, Shemitah is mainly, it's about regeneration and getting, vitalized again. And the next person that I have to my right is actually Jack Rappaport. Jack, would you like to share?
Yeah, I'm a good friend of Kobe's. We're working partners. And I went to yeshiva for 9 years, and I really don't remember much about Shemitah. So I'm really here to learn about, Shemitah in this forum. So this is a learning experience for me.
Awesome, and thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Of course.
The next person I have to my right is actually Shuli. Good morning, Shuli.
Go ahead, Mitz.
Good morning, everyone. Shavuot Tov. Great to be here with all of you. Einat, great to be here with you. I am just particularly excited for this conversation because I am curious to hear how Shemitah is made real in people's lives, particularly in Eretz Yisrael. But the conversation we've been having this year is how do we make it real, or how do we take some of its values and make those real in our lives? So I'm excited to hear the angle that you will bring to share with us.
Thank you very much, Shuli.
Thank you.
Next, we have Shira Fernandez.
Hello. Thank you. I guess not different from what's been said. I like I think of Shemitah as a rest and regeneration, a chance to start anew. And yeah, I also want to see, how I can make it real, how other people are making it real today. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Shira. Next to the right, I have Judy Geller.
Good morning, Shavuot Tov. I'm just interested in the reality in Israel and what's current there and how it could relate to our lives here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy.
You're
And then I
welcome.
have Judith Lipton.
For me, the concept of Shemitah is about loving the land. And that's what I wonder how we can help ourselves in loving the world more.
Thank you very much. Tzvi Rosen.
Good morning. My name is Tzvi Rosen. I live in Amherst, Massachusetts and New York City, and I'm a member of BJ for quite a few years. I think about Shemitah as an amazing moral idea that will be, and I'm really, really interested to understand how we can make it part of our life in the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you, Tzvi. Madeleine?
Yes, I'm Madeline Cohen. I am a member of BJ, and I usually live in Manhattan. Sometimes I go to Massachusetts, but I'm interested in Shemitah as a process of letting go of those things that are not essential, and giving a rest to the land, ourselves, helping the environment. That's it.
Thank you. Ira Wolfman? You're muted, Ira. Right. Yeah.
Just as you called on me, my phone rang, so there was a lot. Good morning. I think of what I know of Shemitah, I feel is about living in harmony with and respect for the earth. Knew very little about it before this year, and I'm curious to hear how real it is and how it's being made real, and all the other associations about growth and regrowing and re-energizing. Thanks.
Thank you. Mandy Brown.
Good morning. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to find out as much as I can where the gap is between what is said and what is implemented both in Israel and then theoretically and philosophically here. And I have to say, of all the places in Israel, Einat, I have a cousin who lives in the same town that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mandy. Joe Heron. Would you like to share?
Yes, good morning, good morning. Yes, I'm very curious about Shemitah. I live in the US, and I actually also went to a religious yeshiva college growing up in South Africa. I never heard about Shemitah, so I'm fascinated that an entire country is going to follow that. And yes, I think we're at a time in our lives, we need to do some of that. So looking forward to what you got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for joining us from South Africa.
Thank you.
Ellen Menglow.
Yes, hi, I'll turn on my video. Hi, I'm Ellen, and I'm a long-term follower of BJ is the way I would describe it. And, you know, Shemitah as a concept I just learned about through going to BJ and hearing the services, and it really resonated so much with me. I'm going through long COVID. So there's kind of an enforced pacing that's involved with that, where you can't overwork your field, if you will, your personal field. And it made me think a lot about this and Shemitah and about the recharging and the wisdom of that. And, you know, I'm aware of how we even turn rest into a commodity in our country. So I'm really interested in the concept and the moral and the sort of wisdom of it. And I'd love to learn more about it. So that's it.
Thank you. Mary Sevi.
Yeah, okay, I unmuted. really what everyone has said. And the past 2 years of COVID, before we were even talking about Shemitah, I think we all were kind of living it in an uncomfortable way. But I've been really excited about BJ and many other Jewish shuls and organizations have been talking about Shemitah, and it seems so important in this time to know more and to live it more in a healthy way. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last three that I see on my end are Marjorie, Sue, and Sarah Levine. So Marjorie, go ahead, and then we'll have Sue and Sarah, and we'll go back to Einat.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, so I'm in New York City, a neighbor of BJ, and I want to learn. I've heard about Shemitah from way back, but I don't know a lot about it, and I'm interested in it because it's cool that an old concept could have such resonance for today.
Sue, would you like to share? So we'll try Sarah Levine.
Hi.
Sarah? Hi, Sarah.
Sorry, I feel like a wet dog with twigs coming out, so that's why I'm on. My face isn't showing. I'm a little sick, but anyway, I'm mostly here to learn. My personal Shemitah, and this is all from BJ. I'm learning so much. Is about there are big things, tragedies, and stuff like that that have happened in my family in the last 2 years. So I'm forging new ways of relating to people. And I'm not doing what didn't work in the past. So this year, I'm working on that. So that's me.
Amazing. Thank you, Sarah. And we'll give one final chance to Sue, or if Sue.
I'm not sure she's here.
Yeah, well, she's with us, but maybe she is having technical issues, or I don't know. But so Einat, we're gonna go back to you.
First of all, I want to thank you all. Between all the beautiful things that I just heard, I don't think you actually need my lecture. Between Shemitah as a COVID, but in a good way, Shemitah as a reason to let go, Shemitah as a real connection to the land, to the spirit of the world. Between all this, I don't have much to say. But since I am as a lecturer here, I will say more than this, and at least say what is happening in Israel about these issues. I wanted to start to say that my first pluralist Jewish experience was in BJ. It was 3 Shemitah ago. I was in a Jewish program, something, and they brought us to BJ, and it was the first time when I saw people praying with enjoyment. I mean, I grew up in an Orthodox family. I prayed all my life, but it was never so happy. I remember we came for the Friday evening ceremony and everybody was dancing. And I was thinking, wow, why in my shul nobody is dancing? We just ate very, very fast because we want to go home and eat. You probably hear it a lot, but it actually changed my mind because now I'm in a community where women can lead in the Torah. I wasn't there before. We dance, yes. When we are happy and we pray, we actually dance. So before I start talking about Shemitah, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for opening my eyes exactly to Shemitah ago. It was exactly 14 years ago in the first Shemitah that I was aware of, that it's actually a Shemitah. And now we start talking about Shemitah. For that, I will do a screen share. Feel free to stop me if you want to ask something. You can hear me, it's going to be better than this. But so you can stop me if you don't hear or don't understand something that I say. So this is a picture of me and my family at the left corner, my 4 kids and my husband. And this is my Shemitah project in the last Shemitah. In the last Shemitah,
maybe you should just do it as slideshow, as a presentation, view, so it will be bigger.
I did a section. You don't see it?
No, I think you need to go to the slideshow itself.
Yeah, no, it was on the slideshow. Just a minute. I will see if I have any problem. Let's do it again and try to do it in the slideshow. And if not, I can talk without it. I mean, just for to be okay. Better and bigger.
Give us a second. It still looks the same to me. I don't know.
For me, it's now in the slideshow.
Okay.
What do you say?
When you switch a
but
page.
But it's only pictures. It's only for the atmosphere.
Okay.
So we don't really need it to be huge.
Okay.
Okay, so in the last Shemitah, exactly 7 years ago, I took my whole family for 1 week every month, and we went to another place in Israel. I started with Eilat, and I ended in the Golan Heights. And in each month, I spent 1 week in a place. I gave people free fruits and vegetables in the honor of the Shemitah. I know farmers gave it to me, and I was talking with them about their social dreams. I mean, I was coming to people came to the tent. Israelis, as everybody, like to get free stuff, free good food for sure. And people came to the tent, and we were eating together watermelon or a pomela. I mean, it depends what time it was in the year. And I was asking them, tell me, please, people, if we are going to have 1 year off to the whole of the Israeli society together at the same time, what would you like us to do in this year? What do we want to happen? And the answer is amazing, and it was a great experience for me. But the biggest thing that was experience for me was the experience of me and my family while doing it, while spending a week, a month, every month, meeting people and hearing about Shemitah. But how did I get to do this? I mean, what was my story? What was my idea? Why did I get to be a part of it? Just a minute, I will move a little because there is a lot of noise here. So the story was like this. Many years ago, I started to run NGOs for a social change and environmental change movement. I was very strong in this. And I don't know if any of you is part of NGOs. There is something about NGOs that all the time you feel that you're going to save the world. And if for 1 second you will stop doing whatever you're doing, everything will collapse. I see the feelings that people who run NGOs feeling, and that's why they are doing it, because as you well know, we are not getting paid well for our work. So we have this feeling that we are doing. And how we work. I mean, we are working with donations, so all the time we have to show people how hard the situation is and how we are needed. And that's why we run without a stop. So for many, many years, I was running without a stop. My NGO was talking about the connection between environmentalism and there was a lot to do in Israel about this subject. It wasn't as happening as in the state. And I was running, just running. And then 9 years ago, I gave birth to my first child, Nitai, and I had a feeling it's going to be the last one. I wasn't sure. Now I can tell you, yes, I am sure. But I had a feeling that I'm not going to have another child, and I wanted to find out how it is to have a maternity leave. Until then, every time I had a child, I just took him with me and he kept on running, and everything is on my shoulder, etc., etc. At the beginning, it was terrible. In the first week, I just didn't know what to do with myself. And after a while, I started getting, into the zone of living more simple, more quiet life. And then a very weird thing happened to me. And the weird thing that happened to me is that I started to see how much good there is in this world. Before, I just didn't see it. Maybe because I was too much in a rush or maybe because of the way that my work was just to find things that are not working and trying to be a part of it. I will give you just like 1 or 2 examples. If you remember, in 2011, there was a great demonstrations in Israel about social justice and how it's expensive to live in Israel, etc., etc. And when it finished, everybody said, okay, it's finished and nothing happened. We have a few new politicians and so nothing changed. But staying home with my child for a few months and saying everybody was calling me no, I found out that many people that are calling me are people from buildings, just neighbors in buildings, that after this demonstration was finished, found out that there is nobody that is going to take their place in taking responsibility about their life. And they decided to take responsibility about their own life. And they were calling me, maybe I can help them to make a Kabbalat Shabbat on the roof. Maybe they can do a community garden. They can start learn Israeli poetry together as a community. And it was happening for years when I just found out about it, but I just didn't notice it because I was so much in a rush. And having this feeling made me start thinking what actually would happen if it wouldn't just me with my baby at home thinking good thoughts about life, but what would happen if it would be the Israeli society, if actually we would all stop together, if we would all just think that we have as a society and how we make them better, instead of what is usually happening, to think about the bad things that are happening and then do nothing because there is so much bad around us, so how can we do anything? And I will start thinking, I mean, what time in the Jewish calendar is good for this? Now it's weird for me that I was even thinking about it because it's so obvious. It's so in front of my eyes. I mean, I'm doing Jewish environmentalism. I mean, it's there. But then I will start reading and thinking. And then here it was, the sabbatical year. At the beginning, I saw an article about it. But I want us, before, just to read together the phrase itself. So anybody wants to read it for me in English? I would only do it in Hebrew. So anybody wants to read the phrase? Can you see it? Yeah, Kobe, you can read it.
The one on the top or the Shemitah?
And the Lord, we don't see the same thing.
I see the first page.
I have now the
presentation
about Shemitah. And the Lord say this, you see it?
No, I only see the first page, the first page.
Okay, I think I will do it without the matzaget. Something is not working. I will just do it like this. Now you see me again, everything is good?
Yes, and you have a beautiful background, by the way, in the back.
Okay, the background is real. It's not real from now, I have to say. It's real from 3 hours ago. I'm spending the next 2 days up north of Israel in a conversation about what can we do about the problems in Ukraine, how can we help the people who are coming here, and what can we do for the security of the food in Israel and the world. So I'm 2 days in the north, and that's why you hear all these noises around me, because the crisis is new. I didn't know that it's going to happen when we decided about this conversation. So this is where I'm actually in the north of Israel, next to Kfar Giladi. So I started reading the Bible and thinking, I mean, many times I do it. When I feel alone or that I have a problem, I just go to the Jewish text and always I find something. Right now about the Ukraine, we all talk about Purim and Megillat Esther. What can we do when something is happening abroad and how it's related to us and what can we do about it? And then I start reading about Shemitah. And I will just say like some things about it because everything about it is amazing. The first thing that I wrote, ושבתה הארץ שבת להשם. Yeah, in the beginning, when you're trying to learn about Shemitah, it says, when you come to the land of Israel, the land should do a Shabbat for God. And for me, it was amazing. It was like a song to my ear. The land is doing a Shabbat. It's amazing. It's so environmental. I mean, the land is not just a resource to use. The land is not something that we conquer. The land is somebody, maybe even a woman, and she has a relationship with God, and she wants to worship Him, and she wants to do Shabbat. And all we have to do is just let her live in peace and stop using her for all years around. I mean, this was amazing for me. It was like, wow. So I kept on reading. And at the next phrase, it states, who is coming to the Shabbat Haaretz? Who is coming to this party of the whole Shabbat of the land? And I found out that everybody is coming. I mean, in the phrases they're talking about the Shemitah, they say, "Vayita Shabbat haaretz lechem leochla." You can eat the Shabbat of the Haaretz. You are welcome to the Shabbat table of the land. Who is coming? You and your family and your slaves and the people who live in Israel who are not Jewish, and the animals that usually work for you, like, I don't know, the cows, and the animals that usually you try to kill, like the snakes. Everybody is very, very welcome to the table of the earth. And while reading it, I was thinking, I mean, I live now in a pluralist community where Orthodox and non-Orthodox are living together as one community. And all the time we invite each other to our Shabbat table. So we do it because we are such a great community, of course, but another reason why we do it is because everybody wants to show the other one how he is doing the Shabbat dinner, because everybody thinks that he's doing it a little bit better than anybody else. So it's always there, like in the background. And I was thinking about the Shabbat of the land, and the land is invited us to the Shabbat table, and she and she wanted to tell us something. I mean, she wants to invite us because we are so amazing, but she also wants to tell us something. She wants to tell us something about ourselves, about her, about how we are supposed to do this Shabbat. And she's doing it by telling that everybody can come, everybody, including everybody who is living on the same land and sharing the same sky, no matter who he is. And I was reading this, and everything was so utopic in my thinking, I have to say. Yeah, I know that nothing is utopic, never, only in my thinking. But everything was so utopic, and I was thinking, wow, what a year we have in our thoughts. We have a year. Every 6 years we run, we walk, we run, we are around the clock, we are in the race of life. And in the 7th year, I mean, like in the utopic world where everybody is farmers, and we live in the ancient land of Israel, yes, not in this world that we are living in now, but in this ancient world, everybody is a farmer. The Israel was a farmer society, and everybody the same year, they stop. They let the land heal from all these years of working for the men and doing a Shabbat. They tell themselves and everybody else that the land is not theirs to conquer. The land is the land of God, the land of the community, the land of herself. And they do something with their time. I mean, if everybody is farmers and nobody is working the land this year, so basically they have like a year off. Not one person, not a mother in maternity leave that is not off at all because she has a baby, but all the community, all the people of Israel stopping together for a year. What can they do in this year? What can they do for their community? What they can do for their spirituality? What can they do for themselves? All these things really thrilled me. And I wondered, how come it's not thrilling everybody? How come it's not a part of the story of the Israeli society, of the whole Israeli society? I mean, we're the same people living on the same land. So I start to make a little research. I know it here like I didn't actually had a break at these days, but you know, this is what I do when I have time. So I took some time and I did some reading about it. And I found out that just 7 years ago, at the Shemitah year of 2007, I'm talking about just before the Shemitah year of 2014. So 7 years ago, many people started at the same time to read in the newspapers. I'm doing PhD now about this story, how they are sorry that the Shemitah year is not getting her place in the Israeli society. Some of them, of the people who wrote them, were talking about how environmental vision the Shemitah holds. The other wrote about the social vision. The other just talk about the Shemitah as a year when you can look different on the poor people. Usually you say they don't give enough to the society, etc., etc. This is a year when you don't have to talk about what they are not doing. You can talk about how they're just like us, like everybody else, and how can the whole society can be open to them and let them change their seat, change their life. And like many people wrote many things about the potential of the Shemitah. I don't know, I never heard about that before. And I start calling them. I thought, okay, so many people wrote so much amazing thing, even though they wrote all these things. I live in Israel all my life, and I never heard about this thing. So there is something that is not working. This is something that has to be changed. And I start calling like every person I saw that wrote a lecture. I gave him a phone call. Hi, my name is Einat Kramer. I'm the director of Teva Ivri, Jewish Nature. I'm doing a work about the connection between Judaism and environment. What do you say about the Shemitah? Why don't we hear about it? What is happening about it? What do you think need to happen about it, etc., etc. And what people me were usually was something like this. Yes, it's very hard that the life are not like we wanted to be, but what can we do? We are only one person, and I'm on build a group. We called ourselves Chovevei Shvi'it, the people who love the Shvi'it. And in this group, we start teaching. I mean, when you want to have at the beginning, start in teaching yourself. 1 second, רגע. Chantal. And we start teaching. We went all over Israel. We taught about Shemitah. We just read the Bible and we talked about it. And we asked, what can you do about Shemitah? How does it reflect to your life? What can you do different? And different people answer different things. Many people talk about a simple life. Many people talk about opening their field to the other. I mean, like, I don't have a field. I don't work in agriculture, but I have a field of interest. I have hobbies. I have my professional field. I know how to run NGOs, and many people were thinking about opening this field to the other, and many other things. And after a while, we started building like round tables around topics, and we decided to try to change the Israeli reality and to bring the Shemitah up front, to bring the Shemitah into the life of the people, to bring the Shemitah into the life of Israel. And all this was just what happened before. Now I will tell you what actually happened in the Shemitah year, in the last Shemitah year, and also about the difference in this Shemitah year. Again, if you have any questions or something, feel free to stop me and ask whatever you like. At the end, in the last Shemitah year, in the Shemitah of 2014-2015, I have to say in the beginning that many things were different. The first thing that was different, that in the government, they were talking about the Shemitah in a positive way. Not only fights between the Haredi who wants to do Shemitah in one way and the religious Zionists who want another way, and the seculars that doesn't want to do Shemitah at all, but to talk about the Shemitah in a way of opening the fields, in changing the reality. In the first day of the Knesset, Bougie Herzog, now he's the president of Israel, then he was a part of the Knesset, was saying, I invite everybody to open the field. Maybe we don't agree with each other about things, but we are sharing the same field, and let's take out all the fences and just be open with each other. Like this, how we begin this year. In Tu B'Shvat of the Shemitah year, we made a huge conference in the Knesset, where many Knesset members, again, religious, seculars, and Haredic, everybody gave like one thing about the Shemitah that he want to bring as a present to Israel. We were many projects that we started to build, but I don't know if you remember what happened 7 years ago. Like many times after, the government fell at the middle of the year. We just had a small war in the beginning of the year. So we had many, many, many huge projects that didn't happen, but I will share with you their ideas because I think it's a good idea and I think it will happen. So one of them was with Amir Peretz. He was then in the environmental ministry. We decided to open the nature resources of Israel to everybody. We found out that many people are hiking at nature in Israel, but only people who have cars because you need to get to nature. So we built the whole, it didn't happen in the end, the government fell and stopped being the environmental minister. But before we built like a huge program that each month we go to another different neighborhood and we arrange buses and we take everybody who wants to hike with us.
Yeah, Einat, there's a question.
Any question? Ken? What is the question?
What is the question?
Okay, I will keep on going. So this was one thing that we started to do. Another thing that started, Ruth Calderon was running this. Ruth Calderon was there in the government as well. To make that in each and every school in Israel, in the Shemitah year, we do more art. Okay, this was an idea that Shemitah was supposed to be a year when we let go, we chill out a little bit, we don't run around ourselves all the time, but we give some time to spirituality and to ourselves. So the first hour at each day will be an hour of doing some art, reflecting, talking, having conversation, and as a part of what we learn. At that time, the Minister of Education was Shai Piron, Rav, the Rabbi Shai Piron, and he was actually into it, and we decided to do it. Until now, it's happening in some schools, not only in the Shemitah. I mean, the program we wrote then to the Shemitah. My children are learning from it now, not only in the Shemitah year, to start the first hour at every day at talking and reflection and thinking about life and opening a vision and meditating, etc., etc.
And they do it in elementary schools in Israel?
In elementary school, between the first grade to the sixth grade. It's because we are a pluralist school, so you can either decide if you want to dive in or to do, we call it like a meetup. And in the meetup, you do all these things. At the beginning of the year, we did it together with the parents because we wanted to be very concrete for the needs of the children. So this is in the governmental issues, but more interesting is what people did for themselves. So I will start with the smallest personal things, and then I will bring things that happen in the middle. Many people, I don't know why, because I didn't promote it then, become vegetarian in the Shemitah year. Why? Okay, why did they tell me that they became vegetarian? How do I know it? Because I wrote a book and it's called Asif Shemita Yisraelit, like the sum up of the Israeli Shemitah, and I ask people to tell me what they are doing and to send me whatever they did in the Shemitah. And more than 200 people send me a mail saying that they became vegetarian. Why? Because they said that if in the Shemitah year we are supposed to sit around the same table with the animals, for sure they are not supposed to be on the table as our food. I mean, this is like makes sense. And I have to tell you that if I think why people did it, I think that people want to do it for a lot of time, and having like a year that is different from the from different years just gave them like the final reason to do it. So many people become vegetarian. Many people stop buying things. Many people wrote me that they start to buy only secondhand. Again, I think that they felt it before, but this is something that I can understand exactly how it's related to the Shemitah. If I talk that the sabbatical year is a year of the Shabbat of the land, for sure I'm not supposed to be so hard on the land that they just take more and more of it. I just let go a little bit and buy secondhand. It's okay. Everything is fine. So this is the second big thing that people do. The third thing that I want to share with you, because I think you're going to love it, this is like a halachic kind of thing, but amazing, okay? There is an organization named Pa'amonim, which work with people that got into the debt cycle, and it helps them to get out of the debt cycle. How do? They do like a training, like personal training, how to manage your budget better, and how maybe to take another job, how to do it. And there is this mitzvah of Shmitat Ksafim. This is a mitzvah that is happening at the last day of the Shemitah, when you suppose it's not happening at all for more than 2,000 years since Hillel HaZaken made the prosbul. But the mitzvah goes that at the last day of the year, all the debts are released. Like if I lend Kobe 200 shekels, at the end of the year, it doesn't have to bring it back to me. But for me, it's great because it's a great mitzvah, rare mitzvah, because it's not happening for more than 2,000 years. So this organization, Pa'amonim, made a deal like this. People are lending money to the organization. At the end of the year, they let go of it, and boom, they have a rare mitzvah. They are so happy. They made a mitzvah that nobody else is doing. What is happening with the money? Pa'amonim is working with families, 5,000 families, I have to say, for the whole year, teaching them how to manage the budget. At the last day of the year, they go to the bank or the cellular company or wherever, and tell them, listen, you see this family, until now you had to run after them all the time because they had all these debts. Now we tell you, on us, they are normative people. They know how to manage the budget. There is only this debt that they have. Let us, with the fund, with the money that was released by the donors, we will give some of the money. The family itself will give some of the money, and you, the bank, will let go some of the money. You will do a great mitzvah, and it's good for the PR as well. And then you will be a part of it. It sounds like something that will not work, but we got 1 million shekel in this way this year, and we released debts in the amount of 10 million shekel. So like the banks, for every shekel that we gave to the bank released 9 shekels. And it's actually happened, and it happened around all Israel, and it was the best project ever. Even though it's not about environmentalism, I have to say it was the best project ever. So all this happened in the last Shemitah, and many, many more. If any of you is reading Hebrew, we have a web book called Asif Shemita Yisraelit with many, many, many projects that was happening in the last Shemitah. And then I will go to the way we started our conversation here. And then came the Corona. When the Corona first came, I have to say, everybody was very, very sad. I was very, very happy. Not only me, my whole group. I told you that we have like a WhatsApp group of Cheveve Shvi'i, the lovers of Shemitah. All of us, we were very, very, very happy. Why? Because it's happening. I mean, all the time we said, what will happen in all Israel? We stop at the same time for a long way. How we will feel about life? What will we think about reality? How can we be a better community, more spiritual people, etc., etc. And then it just happened. I mean, everything stopped. I mean, I know it wasn't utopia. It was more of a catastrophe. But we all stopped at the same time, and we were waiting to see how many good things will happen for it. So I have like many, many WhatsApp groups. Yeah, I'm a social change person. So I have many, many WhatsApp groups about many things. In all my WhatsApp groups, everybody was crying about the Corona. And only if this group of Cheveve Shvi'i, everybody was enjoying. We send each other pictures of animals walking in the middle of the street with nobody bothering them about the weather, which is much better because there is no air pollution. I don't know if in the state it was the same, but that's what happened in this group. And then again, like my maternity time had passed, and we found out that life are not so sweet. This is a disaster, I have to say. We had a very hard feelings, all of us, the people in the group and the people in my other groups, and me as a person, being at home with my children, with no school. I stopped working for a while because we weren't allowed to work in Israel for a while. A lot of scare. I mean, we were very afraid about the future. We didn't know what's going to happen in the future. And it made me look about the Shemitah in a totally different way. Like at once, I stopped thinking about the Shemitah only as an amazing thing that is happening and let us be all together, etc., etc. And I start to look at the Shemitah as she probably was, a kind of a catastrophe, something like everybody has to stop working at the same time for a year. What do we eat? I mean, if we were like all farmers, so what did we eat when we didn't work? This is really frightening to think that we don't have anything to eat. What would we do with our time? I used to wake up every morning at 5 o'clock and go to the field. What am I going to do now? For a year, not for a few months, for a year. Like a year is like always, it will never end. And I start looking at the Shemitah, not like a utopia, not like the best thing ever can happen to anybody and we have it, but like a catastrophe, something that is happening and is frightening. We don't know what we're going to do about it. And I start learning again. I went back to the Bible and I saw that it was there the whole time. I just didn't read it. Yeah, it was too much in my own dreams. And it's there for the whole time. And what do I mean? At the minute where the people of Israel were talking about the Shemitah, the next thing that it's written in the Bible that they say, okay, but if we're not going to grow any food, what will we eat? It's just written there. And the answer is that God say, I will bless you. I will give you my blessing. Everything will be okay. And I start thinking, what does it mean? What does it mean everything? I mean, I'm Israeli. I know what it means, yeh beseder. Usually when you say yeh beseder, everything will be okay. It means that you don't have a plan. But,
you don't have a plan and everything will be wrong.
Yes. You don't have a plan. You know that everything will be wrong, but you're very optimistic because, I don't know, this is who you are. So when God say, I'm going to give you my blessing, what does it mean? What is happening? And I start learning about this word, blessing. What does it mean? What is to be blessed? What is to bring blessing to anybody? And I found out that blessing in the agriculture, it's called havracha, bracha from havracha. It means to bring something, I don't know how to say it exactly in English, but basically is to bring the waste from where it is and to share it with everybody. And it's all about being connected to the source of the wealth and bring it to everybody around you. It's all about community. It's all about strength of community. It's all about working together for the better good of everybody. And it changed the whole way how I look about the Shemitah. Now when I think about the Shemitah, I think that once in 7 years, there is a crisis, a big crisis, yeah? I mean, even then in the Bible times, a big crisis when there is less food that has to be shared by everybody, that nobody is sitting well on his position because everybody changed job. Everything is changed. But what is not changed? The cycle. We are doing it exactly once in 7 years. And that's why from one Shemitah to the next Shemitah, we have 6 years to prepare ourselves. And how do we prepare ourselves? We prepare ourselves in building strong communities. Again, we can see it about COVID-19. When we had a strong communities, we made it happen. We stick together for each other. If not, the fear is so strong, it tears us apart. And this idea about Shemitah as a way to bring strength to the community by knowing that it's going to happen again and again. And when we have this strength, whatever is happening to us, it can be war, it can be a disease, we know how to deal with it because we learn it together and we improve ourselves from Shemitah to Shemitah. And this is the message that I bring to Shemitah these days. This is the message of the Shemitah of the year 2022. And the projects that are happening in the Shemitah, they are all in this spirit. They're not my project. This is my feeling about Shemitah. And this is a project that I do now. I work the Shemitah with the Haredi community, and I bring them to meet the land. I talk to them about food security and teach them all this related because I want us to be one society, the whole society of Israel, not separated to each other. But different people did many, many projects, and all of them is about strengthening the community, being together, getting local food, local people, local buying. And now I feel that this is the message of the Shemitah that we want to bring to this world. So this is my spiel about the Shemitah in Israel right now, but because I wanted to have a lot of time for questions, because this is only one aspect of what's happening. I believe that I can answer about all the aspects. So please, I open this to everybody.
Yes, so Einat, thank you very much. I mean, I will share, by the way, you were mentioning Pa'amonim, and thanks to your website of Shemita Yisraelit, our last conversation was actually about Shmitat Ksafim, and we actually had a representative of Daf Chadash, and that's a non-for-profit that I got to know thanks to your website. So thank you for everything that you do. Yes, and it's amazing. So feel free, people, to ask questions, to ask Einat questions. It's a free conversation, so, you know, just jump in.
Einat, I just want to say bravo. It was beautiful. Your energy is I get energy from your energy, and I love that you brought us through the process and that we came to this strengthening of community and this love. Somebody mentioned love in their introduction of what they were thought of Shemitah, and that hit me when I heard that, and I say bravo. It's so much to think about, and thanks for starting that.
Thank you very much. If you don't have questions, I will share you with something very, very cool that I just learned with Shmitah. So I will share it with you anyway. You can ask questions and
Yes, Tzvi.
afterwards, because it's really... כן, בבקשה, צבי, please.
Well, thank you again. Thank you too. I think it was great. It's really interesting. I'm really taken by your idea of that Shemitah is focused on the preparation rather than the content of the seventh year and the building of a community. And I'm wondering, so it's a nice way to really turn it around and basically say the seventh year, it's like Shabbat, it reflects on the 6 days before and the 6 days that are after. So my question to you is, do you have, if you take it now to implementation, when you talk about using the 6 years to prepare and build a stronger community, do you have any specific ideas of what it means?
Yes, of course I have. I'm a social change activist, of course I have. Thank you very much, I have to say. I want to say another thing according to what you said about the preparation. It's not only a preparation, it's also celebration, because if people know, just when the Shemitah ends, at the Sukkot holiday, just after the Shemitah, there is a Hakel ceremony. What is Hakel ceremony? All the people of Israel are going together to Jerusalem, and there their king, in the Bible times, okay? Their king is going to read them the book of Torah. What does it mean for me? For me, it means that after we had this year of the Shemitah, which is a hard year, but very stressing year, we learned it about the cycle of project. Yeah? Every time that you have a project, you have to start, as Tzvi said, in planning, then you have to do the doing, and then you have to do the celebration, because otherwise you don't have the strength to do it again, okay? Because you have to have many projects. So the Hakel is a celebration. Everybody is going together to Jerusalem, they read the Torah, and they remembered that they are one people with shared values and with a vision for the next 6 years of cycle. And if it was our days, I believe that the Hakel ceremony will include round tables where people are trying to say for themselves what are going to be the values that they want to work on for the next 6 years and bring to the fourth table in the next Shemitah year. And this is one vision of mine. But if we want to ask actually what for me it means a strong community, for me a strong community is community where people are connected to each other and connected to the land they're living on. For me, the JCCs, the community centers, and it goes well with the corona, with the COVID-19 as well, should have a lot of parts outside, like something with a JCC with a park, where people are meeting outside, walking in a community garden, making their own food, maybe even if it's possible, having some animals for eggs and milk. And all these meetings of the community are happening around this meeting with nature and each other. People doing Kabbalot Shabbat, praying outside, getting more, as much as we are getting more and more not connected to this world because we live on the internet and we talk on Zoom, etc., to do exactly the opposite, to bring people to know their neighbor because together they met downstairs picking apples from the tree. And if we do it properly and working with the land and not against the land, at the 7th year, we don't have to work in the community garden anymore. In the permaculture system, as a 7 year, we can the garden will work for us. We can just meet and relax there. So this is one project that I'm thinking on, but mainly each and every project that brings people together for me is the right project for the Shemitah year. Right now, this is what we need the best. Israeli society is very divided, and each and every project that brings us together for me is the best project. I don't. Everything is good for me.
Thank you, Tzvi, for the
any other question? כן, תודה, צבי.
Nobody then.
Can I want to share with you something that is very cool. So I will share it with you, even though it's not my lecture. It's just something that I got by in my work in this year. So as I told you, each Shemitah year, I decided about the project that is my project. So last Shemitah year, I had my tent. It was amazing, very much fun. Going with the whole family, meeting people and talk to them about their social dreams. This year I'm a bit older, and my kids doesn't want to come with me anymore, so I had to find another big project. And I have decided that my project this Shemitah year will be to bring the Haredic people to the ground, to touch the ground. As you maybe know, the Haredic people in Israel live separately from the land of Israel. They live usually in cities, in a very small neighborhood, very small apartments, and they use their time to learn Torah. They don't have agriculture lessons in school, etc., or anything that related to this, and they don't get to see how we grow our food. For many years, I tried to bring Haredic people to get to know nature with no success. And then I had this idea, Shemitah. I mean, maybe you don't want to go outside just to enjoy life and nature and yourself, but to learn the halachic part of Shemitah, why not? This is very important. This is very religious. So I came to the Haredic people and asked them if they wanted me to connect them to farmers who keep Shemitah kehilchata, which means they just stop working the land on the Shemitah, totally. And then they will go outside and we see a field and they will say them nobody is doing anything in this field. And they will see trees and we say we don't work anything on these trees, etc., etc. But in this way, they will see a field, they will see trees, they will see themselves at nature. So they built this project. 8,000 Haredic people came to this project until now and counting. We have several families of religious farmers who are keeping Shemitah that they are going to meet them. And one day I came to visit this project to see how it's running. And I came there and I saw many women writing something, writing notes. And I asked what is happening. And the farmer, it was a woman farmer, told me, you would never believe what is going to happen now. Let me show you. And we went together to meet this group of people and of women. And the minute we get next to them, they started singing, a song that you sing to a big rebbe that is coming or something. And then she told me, listen what's happening. There is like a rumor in the Haredic world that if a farmer is keeping the Shemitah halachic, he's blessed. She is blessed as a woman at her own wedding, like the Shemitah year is a wedding of the Jewish farmer. And because in your wedding, you can bless everybody around you. We're talking about blessing, yeah? Who is giving blessing? How do we do with blessing? So at this year, everything that a farmer, if a farmer bless you, that is keeping the Shemitah halachically, this bless will happen. And in the beginning of the Shemitah year, 2 women asked her that they want to get married, and she blessed them, and they got married. And the rumor spread on in the Haredic street. And from that minute, each and every moment, tons of women are coming to her home for the blessing. And she said, I cannot do it anymore. So I made in this corner, I put a small note and they write whatever they want. And at Friday, when I light the candles, I do all the blessings together. And then she told me, and you would never believe, I had to start lighting the candles at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when Shabbat is only at 6, because I have to read all these blessings that these women are writing me. So this is I didn't know anything about it before, okay? I didn't even dream about it. But, you know, whatever brings you to touch the land and enjoy life and believe in the good things that are going to happen to you. And I have to say about the farmer that I was talking, she said that while blessing the people, she's teaching as well. She's teaching about food security. She's teaching about all kinds of feminine issues that some of the girls that once blessed just don't know. And she's like taking her job very seriously. So this is the last story because I just think it's too cool not to be told. So I just put it here.
And I have a question. I mean,
Yeah.
you have amazing initiatives that you're doing around Shemitah. And eventually you mentioned it, that Israeli society is quite divided, and it had different fractions that are just like the Haredim were segregated. You also have Israeli Arabs. And I wanted to know to ask if you have any shared projects actually with the Arab communities.
Okay, the answer is yes. First of all, the Arab communities and the Shemitah is a big issue. Because in the Shemitah, I mean, right now in Israel, we don't keep in the biblical way. We had a halachic solution. It's called heter mechira. Like you sell your chametz Pesach, you kind of sell the land in the Shemitah. To who you sell it? To the Arab communities. So in each and every Shemitah year, all the farmers sell their land to the Arab community, and if you want to make even better, you buy from them in the first place, from our Arab farmers, etc., etc. So this is happening. It's not related to me. I don't even like it too much because I find it a bit racist, but okay, this is we are talking about the Shemitah in a way of building a community. We have a lot of such stuff that we can do together. The first thing all about the financial stuff, but also about this feeling of opening the fields, opening the border in the Shchar. And just next to us was an Arab village called Arab Ben Naim. And we had a very nice garden for the children to play, just because of I don't know, tradition. I mean, when you build a Jewish village, usually you make a big space for everybody to use. It's part of our, I don't know, the way we build the villages. And when Arab villages, they put many houses and many times on the road. And many times they don't have like a communal place. So I gave an idea for my community in the Shemitah, just to open the gate and to invite all the children from the other village to come and play with our children at the same place. And we did it, and it worked. And guess what? When the Shemitah finished, we didn't close the gates again. I mean, who cares? I mean, it's so much fun for people to play together. Small-scale projects like this are happening all over Israel. There is a farm called Shorashim Sujud, where Jewish and Palestinians are working together the land in the Shemitah year and teaching about peace, and many, many other small projects. Not like in a big, huge scale, but it's happening all over Israel.
Thank you very much. Ira, you wanted to ask a question. Yeah, you just need to unmute yourself, Ira.
Okay, hi. Just a couple of questions. I know kibbutzim, I mean, I was on a kibbutz many, many years ago. I know that they're not the force they may have once been, but kibbutzim and moshavim, are they in any way involved in this? And I also wondered about agricultural corporations, companies there.
Kibbutzim and moshavim, usually they don't keep Shemitah in the halachic way. I mean, they do this heter mechira thing. I mean, in this Shemitah year, the country of Israel decided to arrange this heter mechira thing, and the people from the government are going to each kibbutz or moshav or wherever and just help them to do it properly. So most of the people are just working as a normal life. The people who has it different are the people who are organic farmers or ecological farmers, mainly the people who do it in the permaculture system, because they build a way that in the 7th year, they actually work much, much less. And this is actually happening around us. I mean, many people who are organic farmers just say that they are keeping Shemitah this year because they treat the land properly for the last 6 years, and now the wealth is coming. They have less incomes, but usually it's very small places, and then they're in connection with the community. So what they don't have in selling stuff, they get in bringing people to visit. So it's working. Again, in a small scale. I hope in the next Shemitah it will be in big scale, but it's happening in small scale this Shemitah as well. But you said you have a couple of questions. So the second one.
Yeah, I also asked about the agricultural corporations. Is there anything that's
Again,
done?
everything that is going global cannot do Shemitah. They just cannot do it. I mean, we are in a global market. I mean, I have a very good friend in Rotem. She had an organic vineyard and olives. And in the last Shemitah years, she decided to do a Shemitah, like proper talk for the whole year.
Thank you.
When the year after Shemitah came and she went back to sell her oil, nobody wants to visit to buy it anymore. I mean, for now they are getting it from Spain. They didn't wait for her. So it's really, for big corporations, it's impossible to do Shemitah in the halachic way. But it is possible to do all kinds of Shemitah projects. And this is happening in small scales.
I think, Einat, that with people like you, there may be a change in the global thinking, that maybe the world could be a little more holistic, to have a more holistic approach in economy. Because eventually it's beautiful. So, Einat?
You're stuck for me for a second. I didn't hear your last words.
I said you were telling about your friends who has the organic vineyard, and I actually think that what you're doing is, in one small step at a time, you're actually getting us closer to have a more holistic approach towards life and maybe the world economy that actually did go back, in COVID era. We'll realize eventually that we can slow down and live in a more, I would say, balanced way of living.
We share the same dream.
Yeah.
I hope that next Shemitah we will have this conversation again, and this is what I will say. Everybody went call, and the community say agriculture, and everybody is doing a Shemitah together and celebrating in the yards. I wish this is what I will say.
Yeah, we are about to end. So if anybody else has a question or something you want to share with Einat, free to do it now, as we say. And if not, I just want to thank you, Einat, for sharing with us.
It's very easy to find me. Thank you very much. I enjoyed more, of course. But if you want to get to find me or to write to me, it's very, very easy to find me. Einat Kramer in Facebook, Shemita Yisraelit. Yeah. Just write the word Shemitah and you will find me. I'm doing it for 15 years now, so I think you can find me in the network.
Yeah, that's true. It's really easy to reach out to Einat, and she is very. You can see by her nature that she's very engaged and very willing to share, what she's doing. So, Einat, I really want to thank you and wish you best of luck in what you do. And I want to thank everybody else who joined us today. We have a lot more going in the Shemitah program, but not just in the Shemitah program. So follow, our newsletters and follow the Bnei Jashurun's website to check other events that we're having. And I'm looking forward to see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank
Toda,
you.
Much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
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 I wonder if Shemitah started as an accident and then they decided it was a good thing because they saw good results from it.
Achla, thank you.
It's a good thought.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.